Hello. Hope all is well with you who are coming in. Please, if you don't mind sharing, it would be a great help for me if you please share. Thank you so much in advance. Like, share. We'll go ahead and get started in another minute. Thank you for tuning in. Please, if you're coming in, share. Okay, 7:03. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Go ahead and turn this off. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Talking Up with Tamika. I hope everyone is having a terrific Thursday. So, for the month of October, I have been conducting a series entitled Let's Talk Grief. I personally believe it is a subject that is needed, especially with the times that we are living in. So today marks week 4. Tonight, I will be discussing seeking support for grief and loss. But before I dive into that, I want to get a brief recap of last week's segment. And if you want to catch up with the last 3 videos, you can also go to my YouTube page at Tamika L. Fussell, or even just check it out on my Evolve, the number 2 Elevate page for the last 3 videos. And forgive me if you see me moving back and forth because I'm using 3 different platforms and I'm a one-woman show. Okay. So last week we spoke on the stages and symptoms of grief. I spoke about the 5 stages of grief. I'm not going to really get into the symptoms because I will have to dive in a little more on that, and I don't want to take up a lot of time. So with the 5 stages, there's the stages of denial. So this means like, this can't be happening to me. Anger. Why is this happening? Who is to blame? Bargaining. Make this not happen, and in return, I will. Then there's depression. I'm too sad to do anything. You may not even have enough energy to get out of the bed. Acceptance. I'm at peace with what happened. And then one that is not included, but I believe is a big one, is guilt. To me, there's something that's not unusual for a person to feel guilt. For example, a caretaker, someone who's been caring for someone who's sick, and they go through motions, happy, sad, not feeling the best, having to care for someone. There's times where they just feel like this is too much, and now the person has transitioned, and now the caretaker now is feeling some type of way, is now feeling guilt because of things that they may have said throughout that journey, prior to their loved one, transitioning. That's one. Or even saying the wrong thing to a supervisor or administrator, and in the result cause you to lose your job. Then there's that guilt. Okay, so those just examples. So we also discussed, like, if you're experiencing any of these emotions following the loss of any kind, and I want you to understand that when it comes to grief and loss, it's not just in relation to death. Okay, so it can be a loss of a job, it could be a loss of a relationship, It could be loss of a pet. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Whatever you consider a loss. Okay. And so it's helpful for you to know that your reaction is natural and that your healing is a process that doesn't happen overnight. And there's no timetable to it, and there's no magic book that can fix it. So, however, not everyone who grieves goes through all of these stages, and that's okay. Contrary to popular belief, you do not have to go through each stage in order to heal. Okay, in fact, some people resolve their grief without going through any of the stages. Okay. And if you do go through these stages of grief, you probably won't experience them in a sequential order. They probably won't be in the order that I just went through. So don't worry about what you should be feeling or which stage you're supposed to be in. Your focus is to heal. Okay. And so let me just go get into tonight's session. So that was a recap from last week. And I ask that if you're interested, go over to my YouTube page to view those videos. And again, forgive me if you see me moving, um, if I'm not giving you straight eye contact, because like I said earlier, I'm working 3 platforms by myself. All right. Okay. So, seek support for grief and loss. That is what tonight's lesson or session is about. And so the pain of grief can often cause you to want to withdraw from others and retreat into your shell. But having that face to face support of other people is vital to healing from loss. So even if you're not comfortable talking about your feelings under normal circumstances, it's important to express them when you're grieving. So while sharing your loss can make the burden of grief easier to carry, that doesn't mean that every time you interact with friends and family, you need to talk about your loss. Sometimes it's just the fact of the presence, being in presence of people can help you throughout the process. So comfort can also come from just being around others who care about you. And the key is to not isolate yourself. And many times when we're going through something, we want to isolate ourselves. We want to be by ourselves. We want to be alone. And that could be the worst thing you can do during a time like this. Okay. And so the other thing is turn to friends and family members. And I understand, there's people you just may not be able to trust. And I get that, but you have to have at least that solid one, okay, that you can turn to when you are going through. So the panic group can often cause you to want to withdraw. We know that. And so we need the friends and family members. And so now is the time to lean on the people who care about you. Even if you take pride in being strong and self sufficient, and many of us are guilty of that, rather than avoiding them, draw friends and loved ones close. Spend time together face to face and accept the assistance that's offered. Often people want to help you, but don't know how. And it's okay for you to tell them what you need, whether it's just a shoulder to cry on, or just someone to hang out with. If you don't feel you have anyone you can connect with in person, it's never too late to build new friendships. And I know people like in my age range, they're like, oh, no new friends. And I get it. Believe me, I truly get it. But if you don't have anyone in your circle that you can really relate to, it's good, to connect with someone that you may, still have a vibe with that may not necessarily be in your circle. It's okay. And sometimes those are the best because they don't really know you like that and you don't have to worry about your stuff being spread. But that's a subject for another day. Anywho, moving on. So, accept that many people may feel awkward when trying to comfort someone who's grieving. Grief can be a little confusing, sometimes frightening emotions for many people, especially if they haven't experienced a similar loss themselves. They may feel unsure about how to comfort you and end up saying or doing the wrong things. And this is one of the things that really drives me crazy, especially those church cliches. That person is in a better place. The Lord knows best. Um, he or she belong to the Lord anyways. Stuff like that irks me. It's It's not that I don't know these things because I'm a believer, but I don't want to hear them. Okay? What I need you to do is just be present. That's Tamika. Everyone may, feel different. But for Tamika, when I'm going through that process, I just need your presence. I need your ear. I need you to listen to me if I need to vent. I need your shoulder if I need to cry. I just need your presence if I'm feeling lonely. That's all I need. The church cliches, throw them out, please. Thank you very much. Love you, mean it, appreciate it. Um, but don't use that as an excuse to retreat into your shell and avoid social contact. If a friend or loved one reaches out to you, it's because they care. So express yourself to that loved one that reaches out to you, to comfort you, that may say the wrong thing, and let them know how you feel. Let them know, hey, what I need right now is just for you to be there for me. What I need right now is just your listening ear. Okay, what I need right now is maybe just take a drive, you know, to the beach or drive wherever we end up at. You don't necessarily have to have a destination. Okay. Also comes from just being around others. Sorry. Draw comfort from your faith. If you follow a religious tradition, embrace the comfort. Um, its morning rituals can provide. So spiritual activities that are meaningful for you, like for me, in my faith, is praying and meditating. Um, well, I can't go to church now, but when I was able to go to church, it helped me. Now I like to listen to videos and CDs. Well, we don't have CDs anymore, although I still have them. I still, yeah, I'm telling on myself, I still have CDs and I still listen to them. I sure do. And those things help me. Okay. Spiritual activities that are meaningful to you. So you have to find ways to help you through the process. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. Find ways to help you through the process. Okay. For me, I like going to the beach. That is my serenity. That is where I get revelations. Is going to the beach. Um, and being able to write in my journal and just hear clearly from God. So you have to find what works for you. And join a support group. It's nothing wrong with that. We have to get away from that stigma. It's nothing wrong with joining a support group. Oh, I'm laughing at Miss Ingrid B. She said she still have tapes and floppy disks. I still have tapes too. Okay. And laughter is good for the soul, people. Yes, it is. So join a support group. Grief can feel very lonely. And even when you have loved ones around, sharing your sorrow with others who have experienced similar losses can help. Someone who may have went through something that's similar to you will have a better understanding than someone who has not gone through a similar situation. So find a bereavement support group. And they can be at the hospitals, they could be the counseling centers, but you have to do your research. You have to do your homework so you can find those places where you can get the assistance that you need. So seek help. So talking to a therapist or a grief counselor, and I know many of us have this thing about seeking a therapist, thinking that it's not for us. We just go to church, talk to the pastor, talk to mama and them, Bookie and them, who are not trained in those areas, and think it's okay. They can only do so much, but these people have been trained, they have gone to school, they have learned different methods that can help you along the way. So if your grief feels like it's just too much to bear, find a professional people with experience in grief counseling. And there are a lot of free places out there where if you don't have insurance or you don't have the finances, there are places out there that can help you that's for free. And the spirit therapist can help you work through intense emotions and overcome obstacles to your grieving. So, like me, for example, I have seen a therapist, and I still have her number. And when I have my, you know, moments, I reach out to her. Yes, it's nothing wrong with seeking a therapist. There are things that I have experienced that I'm not in a position to share with anyone. But I was able to share with this person. For one, they don't know me. Number two, I ain't got to worry about it coming back to me. Number three, she's trained. She was able to guide me and direct me, you know, on a path that was beneficial for me to overcome what I was going through. Because grief is not easy. Okay. Many times we think we could just work through it, stay busy, but we're actually suffering inside. That's not always good. Just being able to work through, like keeping yourself busy. No, take time out and get the help that you need. And there's nothing wrong with it. And you don't have to tell everybody what you're doing. That's between you and your higher power. So when grief doesn't go away, as time passes following a significant loss, such as the death of a loved one, it's normal for feelings of sadness, numbness, or anger to gradually ease. These and other difficult emotions become less intense as you begin to accept the loss and start to move forward with your life. However, if you aren't feeling better over time or your grief is getting worse, it may be a sign that your grief has developed into a more serious problem, such as complicated grief or major depression. And I'm just going to talk briefly about that complicated grief, which is something that you don't really hear too much about, but it's something that I did learn while I was in school studying this. So the sadness of losing someone or something you love never goes away completely. And I have shared this story since I've been doing these videos. Like, my father's been deceased for 30 years. I still have moments where I think about him or think about moments that I had with him. And July is a funky month for me because July is his birth month as well as his death month. So he was born on July 13th and he died on July 31st. Okay. And there has been times when July comes around, because it's always around my family reunion time as well. um, I may feel a little funky. I may feel a little weird. I may feel a little down. And there was times where I didn't realize it. I didn't recognize it, that I was having these feelings, that I was going through this. And then when I actually, decided to sit back and think about it and put two and two together, and it was the death of my father, July. It hit me. This is why I'm feeling this way. Okay. And you may have moments like that. And it's okay to not be okay all the time. You know, we don't have to, we're not perfect people. And we don't have to pretend like everything is put together and is perfect, because in reality, none of us have it all together. None of us are perfect. Okay. We're going to have moments, and it's okay to have moments. The, um, the key is not to stay in it. Okay. Not to succumb to it, but to rise from it. So if the pain of the loss is so constant and severe that it keeps you from resuming your life, you may be suffering from a condition known as complicated grief. Okay. And complicated grief is like being stuck in an intense state of mourning. You may have trouble accepting the loss long after it has occurred, or be so preoccupied with the loss that it disrupts your daily routine and undermines your other relationships. Okay. And then the symptoms of complicated grief includes intense longing and yearning for that something or someone you love, intrusive thoughts or images, denial or sense of disbelief, searching for your deceased loved one in familiar places. Like, there was a time, I never forget, it wasn't my father, it was a cousin of mine who had passed away. And it was because her and I were real close. And something happened. And whenever something good or bad would happen, I would call this particular cousin. And when this situation happened, I was getting ready to call her and then realize I couldn't call her. It was insane. But those moments, they happen. They happen. And it's okay. You're not losing your mind. So and then avoid things that remind you of what you lost. And so for some people, there may be pictures. You may have, got rid of the pictures. There may be papers. There may be um, voicemails. There may be a person that reminds you of that person or reminds you of that loss, especially when it comes to relationships. Um, there may be this ex that you just can't see 'cause it reminds you of what you all had, whether it was good or bad. So you try to avoid being in any situation where he or she may be. Extreme anger or bitterness over your loss, feeling that life is empty and meaningless. If the loss was sudden, violent, or otherwise extremely stressful or disturbing, complicated grief can manifest as psychological trauma or PTSD. So if your loss has left you feeling helpless and struggling with upsetting emotions, memories, and anxiety that won't go away, you may have been traumatized, but with the right guidance, you can make healing changes and move on with your life. And then, so the difference between grief and depression, distinguishing between grief and clinical depression isn't always easy, as they share many symptoms, but there are ways to tell the difference. Remember, grief can be a roller coaster. It evolves a wide variety of emotions and a mix of good and bad days. Even when you're in the middle of the grieving process, you still have moments of pleasure or happiness. With depression, on the other hand, the feelings of emptiness and despair are constant. So, other symptoms that suggest depression is not just grief include intense, pervasive sense of guilt, thoughts of suicide or preoccupation with worthlessness, slow speech and body movements, inability to function at home, work, and or school, seeing or hearing things that aren't there. So, when to seek professional help for grief? If you're experiencing symptoms of complicated grief or clinical depression, talk to a mental health professional right away. If it's left untreated, complicated grief and depression can lead to significant emotional damage, life threatening health problems, and even suicide. And people, I need you to understand that when you suppress these feelings, you're eating up your insides. Okay. And I know that sounds a little weird or disturbed, but it's true. Um, how can I put it? But when you hold on to unforgiveness, when you hold on to um, grief because you're not dealing with your feelings, you can cause sickness, unnecessary sickness in your body. And it does happen. Okay. This is real talk. So please be careful of holding on to your feelings, suppressing them, not getting the help that you need. Because treatment can help you get better. Seeing a therapist, being able to talk about it, and and I know it may take time to talk about it, and you might have to work your way up to it. But writing, writing helps to get it out. There's this one thing that I learned when I was in school. For me, it's called the oh my god, the empty chair, the empty chair. And so what it is with the empty chair, you pretend, and I know this may sound weird for some people, but for some people who understand therapy, you'll get this. Um, you it's actually an empty chair, and you pretend that it's that person, okay? And you begin to speak to that person as if that person was there. And you can even do this in writing as well, okay? And expressing yourself and getting those things out that you need to get out as it relates to that person or even to a thing, whatever it may be. You use that chair or you use that paper to speak to that thing or that person. It helps. I know this because I'm a witness of it. I can testify that it actually works. Okay, so people, I want you to understand that it's okay to go through grief. The key is to not stay in it. You may have moments, you may have ups and downs, and it's okay. It's okay to not be okay all the time. You don't have to be strong and perfect for anyone. Your health is more important. Your happiness is more important. Okay. So, uh, I think this is it for this evening. Um, if you have any questions, I'm going to stay on for a little bit. If you have any questions that I can assist with, you can go right ahead and ask them. So I see someone says they're looking for a therapist on my Instagram page. I can send you two numbers of therapists that I know of in your inbox once this is done. If anyone else have questions, I'm open to answer what I can, however I can. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm working multiple platforms tonight by myself. So trying to do the best that I can to assist. Oh my God, Ingrid. If it works, yes. If that's going to help you, mean mother chair as much as you need to. Yes, stress is a killer. Stress is a silent killer that can cause many illnesses, such as high blood pressure. Um, it can cause heart attacks. It can cause death. So we have to be very mindful of when it comes to stress. There is such thing as a good stress, and there's such things as bad stress, and you don't want the bad stress. Any other questions or comments? Any? All right. So if not, I guess that concludes our evening. So for next week, it's our final night of this series, Let's Talk Grief. And I'm going to talk about self care. And I'm also going to do a mindful meditation to close us out. So for those persons who have joined me on last month when I did my mindfulness meditation, you kind of have an idea on how it goes. So if you have a mat, come with your mat. If you want to sit in the chair, you can sit in the chair. Just don't mean mug it, Ingrid. Um, but come prepared for some self-care tips and some mindful meditation on next Thursday at 7 o'clock. So I thank you everyone for tuning in, for talking up with Tamika, for hanging out with me for this month's series, Let's Talk Grief. Again, I will be back next Thursday to close out the series to discuss self-care um, for yourself while grieving. And I will end the session with mindfulness meditation. So come prepared to take the journey with me through guided mindfulness. I am Tamika, your spiritual transformation strategist, who is here to help you evolve in order to elevate. As always, it's my desire that these videos inspire, encourage, and motivate you. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at evolve the number 2 elevate underscore coach T. And please like, share, and follow me on YouTube, people. I need some more people like my YouTube page. And you can inbox me if you are interested on a one-on-one grief counseling session. And I also offer a 45-minute complimentary session. I am here to assist in any way possible. Thank you for tuning in, for talking up with Tamika. Take care. Be blessed. Peace.